WrestleZone. What's up, everybody? That's right. I sing my own theme song because we got to get right into it for you on YouTube. Smash like and subscribe. If you're on the Facebook machine, get in the chat and talk with us live. And if you're in the audio ears, wow, we are spoiling you this week. We have so much audio for you this week. Literally over 8 hours of on-demand audio just this week, including tomorrow, February 11th, 2021, the premiere of our brand new fantasy booking series. Because in wrestling, why don't they listen to my ideas even though they've never met me? It's WCW Rewritten, in which we rewrite WCW from 1997 on. What's going on, everybody? We are covering last night's Impact Pro Wrestling, their continued collaboration with AEW, the build to this Saturday's No Surrender pay-per-view featuring the legendary Tommy Dreamer. At 50 years old, on his 50th birthday, he will challenge for the Impact World title. A compelling story, maybe the most compelling story that Impact has told in some time. We'll get into that show. We'll get into some other big stories in the world of wrestling and so much more. What's up, everybody? I'm Kev Kellam. Joining me, as always, Mr. Dominic DeAngelo. It's double D, double K, and then Robert's here as well. What's up? What's up, Tom? Hey. What's up, Robert? Robert, how are you? Robert DeFelice, you know him from Fightful.com, and you know him from Smark Out Moment and Family.
I also work here. Like I do work here.
We have partial custody with you.
I also like double B's.
We got into the gutter early. What's up? If you guys watched Impact last night, let us know what you thought of the show. Give us your rating, 1 to 10. Give us your rating on this week's Impact Wrestling. Let's jump right into what's going on with Impact this week, guys. The continued collaboration with AEW. Where do you think this stands? We're now a couple months into this. We've seen quite a bit of different things here. A lot more AEW talent on Impact Pro Wrestling. I would say Impact's getting more out of this than AEW is, right, Dom?
Yeah, like this collaboration, as far as it goes, like, I mean, this it seems like a very special evening to tune into wrestling, because like it's really giving those paid advertisements are some of the best things going right now with, you know, the two Tonys, and like it's a different.
They're getting a little too.
I very much like them.
You like them? You like them?
I think it's very clever. You know, it's kind of scratching that itch of like, you know, Tony Khan leaning into like, oh yeah, look, I'm just having fun, and like kind of what we were talking about, fantasy booking or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. And so I think he's like kind of putting a thumb to the eye in that in a lot of ways. And I think, but it's also like you have that collaboration with the Good Brothers going in, and then Private Party being in the mix of there. And then on top of that, like just the elements of him also addressing New Japan and putting Impact in that mix, so it heightens that level for Impact too. This was overall like a really, really good episode of Impact. I thought, like, I think since I've been covering it, this has been the best one I've covered, I think, so far at this point.
Damn, yeah, and they had a hell of a main event here. We'll get into this as well with Storm and Sabin versus the Good Brothers. The
Beer Guns.
Beer Guns. That's a fun name. Beer Guns. It's just a stupid fun name. Robert, we'll get into that. What's your general take here on this week's Impact?
My general take on this week's Impact was, I'm not going to say the polar opposite of what Dominic felt, but it wasn't like the most amazing show I've seen from them since I've started covering them. The highlights for me this week was Tony Khan saying that he's an open door that goes both ways. I think we buried the lead here. We need to talk about the fact that Tony Khan said he is the forbidden door, and that forbidden door is wide open and goes both ways. Now, I think that this is a great analogy from a great man. Tony Khan is a wise businessman. He is a veritable genius. He's clearly lifted AEW from nothing to the number 2 promotion in the world, and now we know that he is open to a lot of things. So, Tony.
Peter, excuse me, Peter. Peter's a different friend. Robert, Are you trying to send him a resume with a wink?
Was that a Billy Kay move right there?
Maybe resumes, headshots, whatever.
Before we get moving, I do want to mention this on the show. Big congratulations to my friend Basil, a great photographer in the independent wrestling world throughout the Midwest. He's been working with Impact. He's done some things for AEW and announced recently he is on board with them now as an official photographer.
He's
very,
all
very
elite.
happy for him. He is all elite. He just went all elite this week, so good for him. I was working on the dark tapings. Great guy. Just a true credit in terms of like the additional secondary staff of professional wrestling shows. I've been able to do some things on shows with AEW with him. A great guy. He has done a lot of the photos you see of Impact Wrestling that they use. He's crafted those. He's been a part of different things they do on the pay-per-view side. Just a great guy and has earned his spot. So I'm very, very happy for him. If you give him a follow, definitely go check out his photo work online. Let's jump right into Impact Wrestling for this week. Opens with this 8-man tag. I enjoyed this. I for a while, the credit of TNA, Impact, whatever you want to say, was these big multi-man matches. And sometimes people could say, oh, that was the advent of spot monkey stuff, and that was the biggest, spot-focused thing. You would lose the characters. And I would thought Impact has done such a strong job to swerve it the other way, to get into the gaga, to get into the sports entertainment, to give these characters more. And I thought this was nice to open up with an 8-man tag. Josh Alexander, Trey Miguel, Suicide, and Willie Mack versus the breakout star, Blake Christian, Chris Bay, Daivari, and Ace Austin. Strong opener. We see the winning team of Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, and Suicide, Josh Alexander. Trey winning with a new submission hold. A meaner, nastier Trey Miguel getting that win over Blake at the end of this. I thought this was a strong match, a strong way to open the show.
I thought so too. I thought a little overwhelming at some points, but ultimately I thought such a highlight for a lot of those guys, from Blake Christian.
They had a lot of time too. This is like 20 minutes.
They had a lot of time, and I cover it for WrestleZone, so seeing how much text I was writing for that recap, that particular match, it was a lot. It was a good deal of stuff, and super big highlight for Trey Miguel. I really like what they're doing with him at this moment, kind of playing into hey, are you gonna Sammy after? We'll talk about this after, I'm sure, but Sammy saying that he's a flake and all this stuff. I think that adds a neat element. But yeah, very good, diverse amount of athleticism that showcased a lot of talent very well, and got their story across in a lot of good ways. I wasn't on the episode last week, but I did want to say from last week, Josh Alexander is amazing. I think he's a star that they can really build around as well.
They did give him a featured entrance in this. He was one of the few people who got an entrance in this. I do like that they cut the entrances down. I don't think they need to do that. Robert, when you have these big multi-man matches on TV, you don't need, and not everyone needs an entrance, right?
I disagree. I think because of what professional wrestling is, if you don't get an entrance, you're preconditioned to now. Oh, so you're about as worthwhile as Barry Horowitz. Okay, I got it. No, I think entrances are needed.
Yeah, I agree.
However, this was great, and I poke a lot of fun on this show about the X Division and the weird place it now falls in, because X Division wrestling is every single match on every single show. But this felt like a throwback to what it actually is, and how it's all these guys getting in there. They're going to have a really unique match on Saturday with the Revolver thing. That's cool to me. And you said something about the early days of the X Division where people feel like, oh, that was the advent of losing characters and all that kind of spot.
I wouldn't say losing characters, but I mean, it was the highlight. It was
more the move from the move set to the persona.
Yes.
See, But I think that when TNA had Kurt Angle and Abyss and Sting and Kevin Nash and Booker T, and that made it separate, and then you had AJ Styles who could float.
It was WCW.
Now,
for lack of a better phrase, we have this new WCW rewritten show where they had the cruiserweights and the action-oriented guys and the tag teams, and then they had the big-name stars. We're the big boys. They had the big boys.
Where the big boys play.
Right.
I hated that line. I hated that line.
And then you had this thing where, well, now everybody wants to be a big boy, so now everybody's just floating. So now there's no structure, and I think if we can get back to having a structure, the X Division will mean so much more.
Well, let's make it clear, though. Let's make it clear. I don't think the X Division has ever been very clear. Like, even where Wade Keller was asking her straight up, so how would you define the X Division? And she could not define it whatsoever.
So because I think it's one of those things, you're afraid of labels, but inevitably labels are placed no matter what, so you should be the one placing those labels.
I think it's more they're afraid to say something because they didn't know if they were going to do it, they were going to paint themselves into a corner. Like if they gave some sort of explanation for it. So, hey, it covers everything. It's like...
What about this revolver match, Dom? Break this down for me. This is a unique concept.
Well, why did you ask me that? Because I have no fucking clue what that is.
So I'm the professional here. I'll take it from here.
Sorry, it's confusing.
It is. I didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
It's not confusing. This is one of the most simple gimmick matches.
What is it?
So it's a three-way dance, right? So three guys start out. One gets pinned. Another guy comes in.
Okay.
He gets pinned. He's eliminated. Another guy comes in.
Oh, I like that.
So when you're down to the final three, then it's just a triple threat match and sudden death.
It's a gauntlet match, but a triple threat.
No. Okay. It's a guy, if you want to call it that, yeah. But it's a revolving three-way dance.
So like the way they
because they just like glanced over it. Like they just glanced over it. So I was like, what?
I was like, is this the three revolver match? Like the match I was like that tag match is what I was thinking. Like, what are they talking about? Is this the match? And then
I'm not like Dom and I are not alone. Like that was confusing, right?
That was really confusing.
It was just confusing.
Yeah.
That's all. I shouldn't have to go to your website to understand what the match is going to be on the paper.
I was like that's all. I wanted to make a note to say, what the fuck is the 3-man revolver match? And then Kev asked me, hey, give me details about what this is.
But it was the one thing that irked me the most during the match. I was watching. I was like, what is this? Because I didn't want to turn away from it because I'm watching it. I was like, what is this? It's odd because I've never seen it before. But mind you, once you just lay that on me, that's cool.
It's cool.
It's like dialing that stuff in. That's like a WWE thing. Is exactly what you're getting. You may want to complain about it, but you know what it is. The fundamentals are always laid out. Everyone knows what an elimination chamber is.
I don't know. I've heard it kind of took a while.
Yes, but you remember this where everyone bitches in January? They're gonna over-explain what the Royal Rumble is, and that both your feet have to be on the floor, and they're gonna say it on TV for weeks. Yeah, because people maybe have not watched wrestling in years or have never seen the Royal Rumble before. Because you always have to create new fans. So
it's part of the tradition too to explain the Royal Rumble rules. It almost feels.
Yes, and it's the tradition. There we go.
As you should. I mean, you shouldn't assume that everybody has been watching forever. I have no problem with that.
Johnny, you with the comment here. Johnny, you watches a lot of our shows. Thank you, John. He goes, Impact's crowd noise blends well with matches.
I said
we had a little bit of debate before we went live today. Impact after I want to say after Hard to Kill, their last pay-per-view. They're in the pandemic era. For months, they've been doing the closed set with nothing going on. And I thought the aesthetics were kind of bland. They don't have a Thunderdome budget. They don't have Daily's Place like AEW has. Of the major three televisions other major companies that are on TV in the United States, they kind of have a lower tier production presentation. Even though their editing is really good, their theme song is really cool, they shoot a lot of stuff backstage. It's just a matter of the circumstances. They've decided to pull the trigger and just dub in fan noise, right? There's no one there, but I think culturally everyone's kind of okay with this idea. They're doing it on major sports, but the audio mix is different for everybody. Robert, is it too much for you or is it too little?
It really depends on where you add it in. I think this thing where we're all playing with the noise and we're turning up the cheers when we wanted to, so that Tommy Dreamer's cutting this impassioned promo and you hear these cheers, there's nobody there. Like we know this. Please do it. To me, it's more insulting than ambient noise. It's like, we know there's nobody there, and you're just like, this is an impassioned speech, and you should be cheering. I'd rather Tommy Dreamer say to an empty arena, I'm going to fight like my life depends on it, and get the visceral nature of his words rather than fake crowd noise.
we're going to cover this Tommy Dreamer issue, but Dom, get your piece in on this topic.
Yeah, no, I think the sound, the crowd sound is very much needed for this show.
Okay.
I think it was something that it suffered from, was not having that that white noise almost to kind of fill in the space that they don't have. And there is, like, ultimately, I think it makes the whole product flow well, and it does seem very natural for a lot of the plugged in crowd noises that we've been getting. This is, I think, the most natural sounding of them.
I also think the timing of when they did it is important. Like,
yes,
I remember when we were in May, we were still a few months into this, and we didn't know how far this pandemic was going to go without fans being there, right? Mm-hmm. And the WWE presented that Backlash match, and it was Edge and Orton, and they told you, we're going to augment some things here. And everyone online was like, oh, they're going to dub in crowd noise and it's going to suck and it's going to be annoying. And they did it. And it was sort of rough. But as the weeks went on and they got into it, it made sense. And we were already seeing it from the major sports leagues and different stuff like that. The NFL was the first one to really just go full blast with it. You know, MLB did it a little bit, but they were like light.
MLB was really good with it too. I thought they did a very good job overall.
Yeah. So, and I think this was a different time frame. I think we're just kind of cultured into the idea of it. We're conditioned to be like, okay, we know what this is. We know
my one exception that I'll take with it is that when there are certain moments where it feels like, you know, they should get a reaction from it, the crowd doesn't complement it very well. Like, their noise doesn't complement that very well. So, like, if something big comes out, like, I don't know, I'm just pulling this out. Like, if once Private Party showed up on stage or it came out, then like the reaction to that wasn't as big as you would think it would be. So that kind of like threw you off a little bit. But ultimately, I think they do a very good job I think the crowd noise they plugged in is great.
Robert, I want to quickly cover this story and not go into it too quickly. I was expecting this to come up here. This is not something that was present on Impact Wrestling. We'll divert here for a moment. The growing social media kerfuffle between a WWE superstar, one of the biggest in the world right now. She is the star of Disney Plus's Mandalorian. She is the SmackDown Women's Champion, the most watched show in wrestling, and she is probably the most devout female following of any wrestling superstar right now. The stands show up for the boss, Sasha Banks. One Keira Hogan and Tasha Steelz, the Knockouts champion of Impact Wrestling, doing an Instagram live stream. A clip of it went out there, and they, not so indirectly, took shots at one Sasha Banks for her hair being somewhat similar to Keira Hogan's hair, and the injury that Paige suffered in the ring with Sasha. Robert, I think you followed this one a little bit closely. Dan Greathouse saying Keira Hogan is a dollar store Sasha Banks.
Whoa,
I'm not saying that, Dan. Dan, I'm quoting you, Dan. That isn't my comment. But Dan. So we have some people that are already aggravated on the internet. Quickly tell me the latest Stan Twitter the wrestling Twitter pulse.
I think you covered it well enough. I think there's a lingering issue between, I don't even know if it's between the two women or if it's just, you know, somebody feels slighted by the other. I cannot speak to that. I will say social media is a toxic breeding ground for drama, and there are some people who feed off of that. Neither one of those individuals may be the performers in question. I just think that there is a fan base, a group. I
think in this case, I'm not speaking for anyone. I'm just saying from watching the clip, and I saw it yesterday. It was going around. Some people, you guys, we shared it amongst each other. Like, hey, have you seen this? Is this something we're going to talk about?
I haven't watched it, so.
Well, I had 4 different people send the clip to me. So it was, and they were all separate of each other. So I was like, oh, this thing is getting some heat here. And mind you, it was part of an Instagram stream. So somebody had to get a hold of that and make sure people could see it. So there was an intent, but not I wouldn't say by Hogan or Steelz here to get this out here, but definitely by fans to upset other fans. You see this all the time. no, there's nothing more. We see this tribalism stuff online. People love this now. The sport of, oh, I'm gonna troll them really hard. I'm gonna go into an AEW chat and talk about NXT and blah 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 and all this crap. When we just can't enjoy it, right? We just can't enjoy it. I don't like you enjoying it more than I'm not enjoying it. So there's that. This is silly, right? This whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I would say so. That's my personal take. Yes.
So how much blowback do you think Keira Hogan and Tasha Steelz are going to get for this?
I have no idea, nor do I think it should have a tremendous effect on their careers. They are just people trying to make livings, and don't take over for me.
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to be a huge deal. Like,
no.
This shit will all blow over, and people it'll be a footnote. And
it won't be the big deal that people would want it to be. Is that fair to say?
No, yeah. unless one of the stars makes it more of a deal.
Yes.
But I don't think that's going to really happen.
Yeah, I could see some fans online wanting it to be a thing just because they're entertained by the LARPing of that, the live action role playing of it. But no, this is not. This is pure fluff. This is pure fluff.
Pure fluff, and just the kind of thing that I don't think people should be egging on and wanting to see fester.
Yes, and
are you guys a stand for anybody?
Do I stand for anyone? Are you like a blind?
It doesn't have to be wrestling related. Or you can just stand for anybody.
Oh man.
So
it's hard for me to do that because I cover so much stuff, and I have to. I can be a fan, but I still have to be like, have some reasonable balance between things.
It doesn't have to be wrestling though.
I'm not against being a fanboy for my favorite wrestler like Edge or the Foo Fighters. I'll follow the Foo Fighters.
New Foo Fighters album is awesome.
New Foo Fighters album is great. Edge is great. I'll even say Sasha Banks. I consider myself a major Sasha Banks fan. However, the reason I don't identify with the term stan is because that I think that culture seems to think this person can do no wrong, and should they be found doing wrong, my heart is broken and my life is over. And I don't have that emotional attachment, but I will say that obviously I'm a fan of many, many things.
That's a great way.
Sasha Banks loses the title, I'm gonna die.
That is a perfect way to put stands. Though.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna shave my head if they take that. It's like
this person can do no wrong.
Yeah, I don't understand why my sister won't let me go to the wedding in my Sasha Banks cosplay. She won't let me go to her wedding. It was ridiculous. Let's get back into Impact Wrestling. Kimberly with Susan and Deonna Purrazzo versus the returning ODB. You think they give the win to ODB, but no. Susan, the wrestling version of Karen, had to get involved in there and throw a shoe, and it was a whole just schmaz at the end. Kimberly, the former NXT superstar, gets the win. Robert, what did you think?
Shocking ending. Kimberly's good. I like all of the female heels in this situation. I think ODB should have won. I was surprised to learn she's been like a 4-time knockouts champion. I thought she'd rarely, if ever, won the belt. So that's
I thought she was more of a comedy character, not just like a prestige main event player.
That's really cool to see. So the match itself was fine. Susan was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to Scott Moore. We're gonna have a 6-woman tag," and they will. I don't like the wrestling Karen. It's not working for me. Like, Su Yung should just be Su Yung. She's so good. I like the Susie thing. I think that's fine. I think this is a step too far. That's just my opinion. And obviously at the pay-per-view, I think the heels get the win because Deonna Purrazzo is on a roll.
I like Kimberly a lot. I think I thought her and ODB complemented one another very well in the match. Mm-hmm. Kimberly played a great heel and kind of taunted her, and then ODB did her shit where she'd chest bump her and do all her stuff, and then it was a very, very good balance. And this is Kimberly has been very much able to showcase herself, I think, a lot on this series on Impact, and it's been very beneficial for her. And I think she, if positioned in the right way, you can have a great feud with her down the line with Deonna. But then on top of that too, I'm okay with the Susan role. It's like I never really made it the connection of it being like a Karen type role. I always just thought it was like business version of Su Yung. But like
this is my observation. There's Karen-esque memery involved in the influence.
Absolutely there is. But like I think it's a fine moment for at this point in time. You can't have it be around for too long, but I think for now it's okay. And I think they, again, like these heels, this trio of heels complement one another very well. And it's always great.
If Su Yung has 3 different versions of her character, she has Su Yung, she has Susie, right? Mm-hmm. And now Susan. This is the dude love. This is the bottom tier.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I would say. Yeah. We have Swingers Casino is still going on backstage because they still have to have all of those gorgeous ladies of wrestling ridiculous commentary.
The
Swingerellas, who do not look like they're happy to be there. Am I wrong?
I think that adds to it, though. Like, not like I think it's.
What is going on, Robert?
I know.
Are you mowing a lawn while you're doing the podcast?
No, I made the mistake of having my window open.
Is Chainsaw Charlie outside just saying, "Let me on your podcast"?
No, that's a call we have to make for Don.
Cactus.
Don is a friend of Terry Funk.
Are you in there podcasting, Cactus?
Come on, man. Where's Cactus at?
No, Don's the Terry Funk friend. I'm not. So we got to call Don for that. But
Dominic, how are you? You egg-sucking dog.
This is the dumbest thing ever, and I don't know how Impact with Kenny Omega in the fold is like, yeah, we still need to do this shit. This is so stupid. Like, it's so bad. Like, it's as Bush League as me having a window open and you having to hear all that noise. This is so obnoxious and annoying, and it's not even, like, good. It's just, look at how we have all these bit players and we're going to use them because we have them under contract. So here's this segment. And we've been doing this since Wrestle House. And like that was in the summer. Like, stop.
There really didn't seem to be a point to any of that, like at all. I love Johnny Swinger and I love what he does. Like, I think it's hilarious.
It was just, hey, remember the money? The money's still there.
There was no reason for it. Like, a big part of that bit was like a half-eaten cookie. And you're like, what the fuck does this indicate?
And also, this isn't just like Johnny Swinger being a goofy character.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed this last week. Last week when you had Falaba doing the Groundhog's Day joke, I thought that was like appropriate and like fun and clever.
Yeah.
And there's some people that do shine well. These aren't a hit every time, and I would say this is like SNL, but sometimes SNL doesn't hit the mark, right? It's a little off, or oh wow, they took a hard swing. They're taking these hard swings with these every time, and I think sometimes when they strike out, it's a little bit more obvious with these backstage segments.
Yeah,
and then when it hits, it means so much. It's like, oh wow, that's such a cool idea. There's just a certain level of inconsistency with me on these things. So we also move ahead to the developing stuff with Violent by Design. Some more clear idea of them as a group, as a 3-person group with Cody Deaner in the group. And Violent by Design is going in a different direction, and Eric Young looks menacing as ever. He looks very crazy, like he pulls off crazy well. And Jake Something is in the mix. What do you think of this scenario going into the pay-per-view, Robert?
All right, I think this was one of the best things that happened.
Are you fighting someone with a chainsaw? I don't have you on screen. There you are, Robert.
Because
they fighting someone with a chainsaw.
They finally said, we're going to do Jake Something in Impact Wrestling. And this took way too long to get here. He was just Cousin Jake for forever. I wish Bill was here because we were really harping on that of like, let's get this man. This man is a world champion. Let's get him to be something better than Cousin Jake. And it says a lot, folks, when Jake Something is a better name than anything. But yeah, Cousin Jake wasn't doing it for me. I like that he got the name in by saying, they say if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. And I stand for something, Jake Something. I just thought that was...
I'm not sure if that's a variation of what he's been doing on the independents. I think that's a variation of his name or his motto or his mantra on the independents. Fortunate enough to work some shows with him at AEW. This guy looks like $1 million, wrestles like $1 million.
Yes.
And I do think he's one of those dark horse guys for Impact where they can say like, oh, wow, like this could be like their next guy where you're like, this is their next Trey Miguel. This is their next guy that comes up and people say, wow, Impact has something really special.
Hold on. No, I'm going to fight you on that. This dude is so much like, this dude is money right now.
Yeah.
Way more than Trey Miguel or anybody on the roster. Like,
wow, more than Trey Miguel.
Jake something is so much money. Like, I look at this guy and I'm like, how are you not like headlining a takeover? Look at the size of him. Look at what he presents.
Oh, meat slapping points for this guy.
This dude is the man. Like, he needs to be a great Impact Wrestling superstar.
If he walks into a tailor, let me put this, seeing this man's shoulders, okay? Seeing Jake something's shoulders. You want to see something? Look at this man's traps, all right? Check the pecs, all right? Because if you go to if honestly, you can't write a check on the pecs because it's gonna bounce. All right,
damn.
like this guy is built. He is, and also he has a build that's different. He's not like a cut guy. He's a naturally built, larger than life. Passes the old WWE turn your head in an airport test. Is Jake something? This guy could pull. You think he'd be playing pro football if he wasn't in the pro wrestling ring? And cut a hell of a promo last night, huh, Dom?
Yeah, it was really good. And putting him up against Violent by Design, you can already see like the potential for like him versus Joe Doring and like a big man meat slapping match.
I mean, like we say this,
we got to get our meat slapping.
We say this like it's a joke, but a match like Jake something and Joe Doring should be a world championship match in Japan. Like, these two dudes are fucking huge. And
real Dr. Death vibe.
Like,
I can feel that, yeah.
Hell yeah. And that is what I think we need to see more of.
Jake something going to take on his former cousin. They're no longer cousins. Cody Deaner. So it'll be Cody Deaner versus Jake something. That's added to the pay-per-view this Saturday. That could be a strong, I don't know if they'll open the show with that, but in the thick of the show, that could be a show that could like surprise some people. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's this is a big opportunity to really showcase Jake in this and make him a bigger deal to what
he needs to win. And honestly, I like the story with turning Cody Deaner, and there's history there between Cody and Eric, but they could have turned Jake and given Jake the rub of Eric Young, and then I think you're looking at real money. But then there's the elephant in the room that we'll talk about in a little bit, where it's like they're doing all this AEW stuff, and I feel like until further notice, this show is just, where's the AEW involvement? They haven't done enough. Because right now, I'd almost be okay with, like, if that wasn't a thing and we were focused on the Josh Alexanders and the Jake somethings. But now that we know that door is open and that is a possibility, because they don't have that, like, large exposure, we're looking at a Jake something as a less than, when honestly, like, I would watch Jake something Lance Archer. I would watch Jake something Eddie Kingston. I'd watch Jake something Kenny Omega. Like, this is one of the guys that
you know what? That's the part where I say the collaboration between AEW and Impact, we're now months into it, right? That's where Impact isn't getting the rub that AEW is, where AEW says we have too big of a roster, we can highlight some of our guys, we wanted them to get a little bit more shine on television and get them rubbed with veteran guys. Impact has those, right? And they have their guys that are coming up. They have their own signature talent. You bring up a Jake something. I don't see him popping off on Dynamite this week. I could be wrong, I could be absolutely wrong. But I don't see them getting the rub back and forth with that. Dom, you, of course, cover all of this. You are our head on All Elite Wrestling content. 2 Dynamite Dudes dropping every Friday or Saturday. Exclusively focuses on AEW, because some people say, Kev, how come you don't talk more about AEW? Because there's a ton of wrestling to talk about. All right. So what's your take on this? Should we see more Impact people pop up on Dynamite? Because that was our main event tonight. It was AEW versus Impact.
We absolutely should. But I will say too, and like it should have happened, I think, at this point. already for there should be more of a presence, not just the good
Give us the invasion.
But
we want an invasion.
Not a super invasion, but just like a talent that shows up, like somebody like a Jake something. But to state to that point too, Impact needs to do its part into making these guys seem bigger than what they are. So for right now, we're finally getting Jake something, and we're finally getting a little bit more motivation, or not motivation, but more momentum behind Joe Doring, or certain stars where they where at this point when Impact came, when AEW came into the Impact fold, there wasn't a whole lot of clarity as to who's their top guy and where's their stars. So it's there's time to build to that. But I think at this point, we got to start seeing a little bit more of an influx of Impact talent on the AEW program. Just a little bit, besides the Good Brothers.
Besides the Good Brothers here. We had Keira Hogan versus Nevaeh. Short, simple match. Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards. Her and her tag team partner Havoc have been chasing these belts. They get the win. Keira Hogan and Tasha Steelz won these belts after the Knockouts women's tournament to get the Knockouts titles back. But they've been real goofs on television ever since. They did their Firefest, kind of like spoof. They've been chased out of the ring a handful of times. They don't feel like real barn burner champions, do they, Robert?
They're heels. I have a hard time agreeing with that because we knew this going into it. That's why I kept saying, put it on Havoc and Nevaeh. Put it on the Sea Stars. They have the Sea Stars for one match, and I think that was
you
still
and the
a big
Sea Stars thing.
I like
because if you're gonna do a fucking women's tournament and you bring in a women's tag team, keep them and let them go.
I love your northeastern pronunciation of tournament. If you're gonna do a tournament, all right, if you're gonna do this tournament,
you see, it genuinely comes out sometimes, even when I'm not doing the bit. It's
you can take the boy out of Jersey, you can't get the Jersey out of the boy.
I am from New York. You never do that to me again. That's besides the point.
I can smell that turnpike on you from here.
This is fine. This is fine, but it's a Texas Tornado match. It favors the larger Havoc and Nevaeh. I almost think they should win. I don't want to say that this is a mistake to bring these belts back, but I really feel like there was a lack of commitment when bringing them back. Like they brought it back because they knew it would be a cool thing, and it was some good weeks of television. But now that we're here, we need more established teams. We need to start forming some teams. We need a stronger women's division, because as I look, I usually say they have the strongest one there is, and all of a sudden you lose Taya. Su Yung is off being Susan. We lost Kylie Ray, unfortunately, and now all of a sudden it's like they're not looking as strong as they were just 3 months ago.
If you want a better sense of this, Scott D'Amore did a Best of the Business 2020 interview with us in January, just a few weeks ago, and he is one of the EVPs of Impact Wrestling. He explained how this was done, that the Knockouts tag team titles for the women were not brought back with little thought. So they do have a longer picture here. I'm on the other side of this. I do think Fire and Flavor, Steelz, and Hogan have been made to look like goofs, but I think that's to get them heel heat and to build up another team to chase them into this. Interesting for them to go with a gimmick match right away to defend those titles after they reintroduced them at the last pay-per-view. Now the second one, Texas Tornado, no DQ. I'm with Robert. They could be doing more, but there is other teams they can put together. Jordan Grace and Jazz could still chase these belts, but they will have Jazz, Grace, ODB versus Perazo, Kimberly, and Susan following up on that other match. Let's jump right into our main event, and we'll run down the other matches we haven't touched on for the pay-per-view this Saturday. This main event, though, on television, it has the rub from AEW. It has the advertisement going into it. It has the AEW superstars wishing Tommy Dreamer a 50th birthday, with MJF telling him, I hope he doesn't die. What do you think of this segment of another, we're just going to film it on our phones and just give you little guys down there at Impact something to worry about?
If that's what they did, then I'd be cool with that. Except, no, the TNA guys did the same thing. They were like, we're not going to film it on our phones because we're in the building, but it was just sort of like, hey, Tommy, we love you, man. And this is fine. Like, hey, look, the Young Bucks are on Impact. Hey, look, MJF is saying, hey, I hope you don't die, which is a great great compliment from Maxwell, by the way, and he's salt of the earth, man. And Jericho's great. This was fun, and I like that the wrestling world unites for Tommy.
I really liked it. I thought it was the best. Like, I know it's like an AEW part, but I thought it was the best moment of the show because it did, like, to Robert's point, it united wrestling promotions. And then on top of that, too, they were addressing an Impact star, like an established Impact star in Tommy Dreamer. So it's like, that it's in the mix and it makes it feel big time. So I thought ultimately, like, it did its job. And not only that, wishing Tommy a happy birthday and, everybody tipping their cap to him and what he's done for the business. But it's also did the job of elevating Impact to that level that you want to see it come to.
Triple XL. They don't want to punch Rosemary, the creepy witch woman, in the face, even though she interfered in their matches. So they got Tenille Dashwood, formerly known as Emma of WWE fame, to take on their side in a upcoming match. So who does the team of Decay, which is just Crazy Steve and Rosemary, who do they have to fill out their ranks? I thought, well, maybe look at someone from Impact's past, or maybe one of those guys from AEW comes over out of nowhere from AAA, coming from south of the border. Black Taurus, the mentor that matters in professional wrestling, shows up here and crushes Caleb with a K. That Caleb with a K is the photographer for Tenille Dashwood. Their goofy.
He's also the man inside the suicide costume. Spoiler.
Is he?
Same guy?
Same guy.
Robert, is this inside information?
Did not know that. That is. I thought they were. I did not know that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I never knew that. I thought this was actually really cool. Black Tauros. It looks like a goofy gimmick if you told someone about it, but it is one of those fun, like, it works in wrestling sort of things if you perform it the right way. And this guy does. Like, it just walks that line perfectly of being a little bit too ridiculous. But it also works with Decay. Like, yeah,
it's kind of frightening, I thought.
Yes.
Like, and like, he's athletic and it's big. So it's like, you have that going for it. I think it's a much needed element to an act like Decay, but it's also, you can see him working on a bigger level. So, I mean, good for Impact to get that and to maybe boost him up as a star for them as well. So that's what you want to see with Impact going forward here.
Hell of a finish too. The spinning spike slam.
That was pretty badass.
It's a badass move. More bring that back. Umaga vibes. I want it.
Yes.
Impact World Tag Team Championship. This is Beer Guns. James Storm, Chris Sabin, two vets of Impact, taking on the Good Brothers, who they're the Impact Tag Team Champions, but are they Bullet Club guys? Are they AEW guys? We've been seeing more of them.
They're literally
AEW.
Impact guys. They're literally the most paid wrestlers in the promotion, according to them. I think it's amazing that we.
Which I think is a shoot. Honestly,
I would say it's a shoot.
I'm pretty sure it's a shoot. And I think it's weird that they're not AEW guys, but they just feel like it because they're always on Dynamite. And at this point, it's just like the Bullet Club should have never left each other's side. Mm-hmm. You know, I think if there was a way to get Finn Balor in there, we'd all jump at that chance. This was good. They had Private Party come in and cost Storm and Sabin the match because, hey, we're mad at Gallows and Anderson. They threw us out of the Battle Royal on AEW. We want a one-on-one match with them. Scott D'Amore goes, hey, guess what? I'm going to make sure they don't, Storm and Sabin don't interfere in your match by putting them in your match. Haha. You know, here we go. It's a triple threat. Private Party needs to walk out with those belts.
They do. I do feel like it's weird that Sabin and the Cowboy here lost a match to Private Party. I do like that they're working back and forth between the two shows. Like, here's a storyline between the two shows at the tag teams. That's fine. But I was also like, how do Sabin and Cowboy get this title shot if they lost a number one contenders match? Now here the team comes in and interferes. There's some of this is just a little bit convoluted. Though I do like that they're threading between Dynamite and Impact week to week. Dom, your take.
Yeah, I thought the ending kind of did make sense, especially if you're playing into No Surrender with them being in the mix of it. Did Kev help clarify for me? I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Did Private Party beat Sabin and Storm clean.
Yes,
correct.
Was it a
Yes.
clean win?
No, it wasn't clean.
It
wasn't
a clean
clean.
win.
They used chairs.
They used chairs. Okay, so I'm okay with it then. And
that was when Tony Khan was at ringside and he sent
that's
Jerry
right.
Lynn in
Okay,
to, like,
that's right.
yeah.
Thank you. So yeah,
Because remember when Tony Khan, babyface on Wednesdays, big heel on Tuesdays.
big heel on Tuesday.
He's not a character on Wednesdays.
That's
not
a
a
good point
character.
too. Yeah,
He's not a character, even though he's paying to be on television and he's cutting promos and now he's wearing sunglasses when he's on camera.
He's
I'm
a character
sorry.
on Tuesday.
If you are if you are on a pro wrestling television show and you wear sunglasses on camera, you are a character. It is
on Impact he
on
is.
Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
Yeah.
But
It's an eye roller for me.
It's an eye roller. I love it. I think it's really I don't know. There's certainly, and I can take exception to a lot of that kind of stuff, but I think how they're playing off, it's funny. It's like it's relevant and it's topical.
I've enjoyed it being funny. It's just been too funny. Like there just needs to balance it. Give me a sense of conflict. Give me a sense.
I think we're gonna get that.
I disagree with you, Kevin, because he said a lot of funny things. He did call himself.
Oh, I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining. This paid spot stuff is entertaining.
But he finished it with, and guess what? It goes both ways. I'm coming back to the Impact Zone sooner rather than later. They have a show on Saturday. Who is to say they haven't already filmed Tony Khan helping Private Party win the tag titles? I don't know that. If that happens, that's me completely talking out of my ass. But, who's to say? I think they're doing it. They're doing it well. And this is great because Private Party needs, if the belt was on anybody but the Good Brothers, I'd say Private Party should absolutely win because it's on the Good Brothers and it helps the show on Wednesdays. I almost feel like maybe keep the belts.
Let me push back with this. I feel that Beer Gun should actually win the titles because you already have the acts of Private Party and Good Brothers on Dynamite. If you put the titles on Sabin and Storm, you can get them in the mix on Dynamite a little bit and have that conflict going there. So then you have all those parties coming into play, pun not intended, with the Private Party. But like you have all them mixed up on Dynamite, I think it adds a little bit more and it elevates Impact further. So Impact gets more of a rub than you were to give it to Private Party. You do have the intrigue of AEW guys holding Impact titles, but I mean, it still can provide that element of Impact guys, more Impact guys getting on Dynamite. And I'll make the argument too that you have an established talent such as James Storm and Sabin as your established Impact people that people are familiar with. You have them on the Dynamite product. I think it adds a whole nother element to not only to both products.
The issue I have there is that it's Storm and Sabin, and at the end of the day, even though they're great and they have a lineage of, they are TNA Tag Team Wrestling, they're still a thrown together team. If it was the Motor City, I'd be like, sure, let's get Motor City the belts and let's get them on Dynamite and let's put them in the ring with the Young Bucks and everybody. But because it's a thrown together team, I'm going to go with Private Party should win here because there's not a lot of room for them on Wednesdays right now. There's a lot of room for them on Tuesdays. Let them.
I don't know if there is. There's a lot of tag teams though in Impact as well, like that you want to get in the mix too. So,
but is there though?
I think so. Yeah, I think there is. There's let me think here. Now I'm on the spot.
You know what? I know this would be crazy. I think Triple XL would really stand out if they showed up on Dynamite. I think they would look like a completely different thing. I don't think there's anyone with that kind of for lack of a better phrase, chunkier body size on Dynamite that looks like that and wrestles like that. I think they would look different on that show. I think obviously a lot of people say the women need to be there. AEW, even though they have a deeper roster, they're doing this women's tournament, relying on the Joshi talent and stuff like that. It is kind of like this catch-all. It's definitely the one that's all right, we really need to bring in other people for that. And bringing in the people from Impact would be another case of that. Let's get to the show closing segment. It's been sold for a couple weeks. It certainly moved the needle. Some people thought it was done just to play off WWE bringing in Goldberg for a title shot, right? But it was not. Even Tommy Dreamer said it to our own editor, Bill Pritchard. Tommy Dreamer is going to be 50 years old on Saturday night. He celebrated today on Busted Open on SiriusXM. Congratulations to him. He is a widely respected person in professional wrestling as both a performer and a producer. and a developer of talent. Now, some people, though, have said, oh, he booked himself into a title program. We've heard from enough people that is not the case, that this is something where he was kind of overruled on this, and that there were enough people in Impact that felt like this is an interesting story to tell with someone turning 50 years old. And I would say a couple weeks ago, I was on the fence when they introduced this. Tommy Dreamer, son of a bitch, he went Dusty Rhodes. He talked me into this. I am on board. This is a time where it takes someone to talk you into a storyline, and he did it tonight. And he says, it's one of those, think about that. Like, we knew we were going to get him saying yes tonight. And we knew this match was going to happen, and they were promoting on a pay-per-view. And Tommy, for weeks, is saying, I'm not saying yes. I don't know if I'm doing it, right? And here we are. He says yes, but he says it with a very solid emotional exclamation point that is not like, screw you, I'm taking your belt. It's, I love this, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to do this again. And if I don't do this now, I'll never know. And I have to do it. This is all I've always taken a risk. My only reason for not doing this is because I don't know if I'll ever be able to do this again. So that's why I need to do it. Like, that doubt is real. That's a reasonable thing to process. I thought it was a very emotional performance. It is something that only someone who's been doing this for over 25 years can get away with in terms of just naturally expressing themselves that way and doing it because he loves professional wrestling. And if this is the last great chance I can to love wrestling as loudly as I can and go for the world title, I'm going to do it. I thought this was the best part of the show. I thought it was better than the stuff that AEW phoned in. Literally, they sent stuff in and
they phoned it in.
Shot. Literally, they phoned it in. I thought this is great storytelling. This worked. You guys rolled a dice with something sort of risky, and it paid off. I'm on board. And I know they have other players. They had Moose in the ring with this contract signing. This wasn't like an FU. This wasn't like, I'm going to flip the table contract signing. This was, all right, you guys tested me, and you want the old man to come. I'm going to bring the innovator of violence, and you're going to get me. I loved it. Loved it absolutely a whole lot.
Robert, you want to go first?
Yeah, I thought this was a damn fine promo. They couldn't help but put Moose in this.
Yeah, we are not kind to Moose on this show.
I think we're very kind to Moose on this show. The weird thing to me about Moose is Moose debuted with this promotion when they were still on Destination America. They still had Kurt Angle. They still had Drew McIntyre.
Was Kurt Angle with them on Destination America?
I'm almost certain that they still had Kurt Angle.
It would only make sense being on Destination America.
Well, yeah, he was definitely still a top-notch guy. And
you almost made me spit up on my laptop. Come on.
Look, I'm not against it. I just think they are really slow burning moves. And the thing is, I think you burned the audience on any semblance of, wow, I really feel like this guy has it. He just feels like he's that Ottoman that has been there forever.
To be clear, this match is Tommy Dreamer taking on Rich Swann, who's the world champion. Swann said, I want to take on Tommy Dreamer on his 50th birthday. Moose saying, no, I deserve to be the champion. I want to come in and just take this match. That's the story.
He's got a match, and he said, I'll do a match with you on my time. I don't know what they're waiting for, when they're going to do it, but it's only a matter of time. And I thought they were going to throw him in here and just do the three-way and get it out of the way. And let's just do it.
I've heard this. Trent texting in. Thank you so much, Trent. What if Tommy Dreamer wins? And that would be a moment. That would be a moment where people who pay for this pay-per-view would remember it. Wins, and then Moose comes out and challenges Tommy Dreamer, and Moose beats him in the same night. Is that something that could happen?
No,
Dom?
It's not possible. I'm sorry, I'm not dumb, but it's not possible because Tommy Dreamer's not going to win. As good as it would be if Tommy Dreamer won, and I think that'd be awesome because Dreamer's the fucking man.
Robert, what did you learn over at Fightful? You learn how to cut people off? Because I asked Dominic.
No, I got in there before you said Dominic's name, so I win. Yeah. Look, I don't know why we're even entertaining the idea that Moose he doesn't have a Money in the Bank. The TNA title isn't a Money in the Bank. No. He can't just say, I'm going to challenge you, Tommy, because I feel like...
Trent, you bring that up, and I think they would do it. And the thing is, I think Tommy would do it because he loves to lay down for people. He loves to get people over, and he loves to do that. He loves to be the champion, the feel good guy that you care about, that they can beat down because you need to get the heel ready for an even more bigger hero that you care about. He has no problem being the journeyman in that degree. Dom, how do you see this thing playing out on Saturday night?
So I really like that segment, and I will rescind my saying that the AEW like tributing Tommy was the best. This was the best moment of it, was Tommy Dreamer's promo, and going that super duper baby face on it and selling it very, very well. And then like even going to the ring psychology aspect, he's like, I know you got a bad knee, and I'm going to take advantage of that. And then, but then yes, Moose comes in the mix. And it's always Moose. I am not sold on Moose, and I have not been sold on Moose. And I think he deters from rather than enhances. And this having him involved in this sets up not only to Trent's point where that something like that could happen, where I want to see a straightforward match go between Tommy and Rich. I don't want to see any schmoz with Moose. But then like I can also see now and these are a lot of old TNA elements, and not the good kind of TNA where it's like certain things that maybe, hey, there's some intrigue. This is like bad TNA potential where it's like, okay, I could see Tommy Dreamer. He hit this super duper babyface promo. What if he becomes a heel in this match? And then that's super TNA.
They get swerve. They
take
all this good credibility,
all this good, and then it implodes on in itself. Or then you can also to Trent's point here, like like Tommy wins, which is feel good, but then Moose ends up, and then you have a champion that doesn't feel like he should be the champion of Impact when you're having a collaboration with one of the biggest companies in wrestling right now. So it's like those are bad potentials. If you put the Impact title. If you have Swann retain, that's okay, I think. But if you have Tommy win, I think that's pretty ultimate in this regard. But having Moose in the mix,
completely okay with here. I'm completely. I don't think it hurts Swann to lose this world title.
No, I don't think so either. But having Moose in this mix is not good for it. I don't feel.
The better ending is Tommy Dreamer winning the world title.
Yes.
This is what I would sell on. Okay, and this kind of pushes back to my point I just made. Is like if Tommy Dreamer. Now, like Tommy Dreamer, if he turns heel, but he collaborates with Moose, and Moose is like his heavy, I'm kind of okay with that. But you got to ride that. You have to, because Tommy in this on the conference call he did with Impact with him and D'Lo Brown,
we have the whole thing. It's up on our YouTube and our podcast
thing right up on YouTube. Yeah. A very insightful and very funny conversation that he has with. Like Tommy's very open during this thing, but he touched upon the aspect of. How there was a storyline that was going to get teased where he was going to turn heel on Tessa Blanchard, like almost Mr. Wrestling 2 to Magnum TA style in Mid-South. And so you could see maybe Tommy wanting to go that kind of route. Like with this is a very big babyface thing. So if they do it in the right fashion, but if Tommy's the elevator where it kind of gives him a new renaissance, I'm okay with it. But they have to be very careful, and they cannot make it TNA-esque from the Dixie Carter era. Or Vince Russo emailing Dixie Carter.
Yeah, there's elements of this that I wish that they didn't bring into the storyline on TV. And I've heard Tommy talk about it. I don't know if he brought it up in that phone call, that conference call he did. But he was very frank about how there was in the mid-90s, I had a world title shot in ECW, and I never got to be the champion during the original run at ECW. And one of the times I had a title shot, and I gave up the title shot to my mentor, Terry Funk. Very big, close personal friend, huge influence on Tommy. And that was a way for Terry Funk at that age, at almost 50, his age, saying, this is a way for me to be able to go out and try and have the world title. And he got it. I was hoping they would be able to get Terry Funk on TV. That would have been really, really cool if they got Terry Funk on this saying like, hey, I was an old man and you gave me the world title. You better go get this thing.
You go get that shit.
I was hoping they would do that. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Overall, thumbs up. This felt like a good go home show, and this feels like a show that, like, I will say this: I'm more into this show than I was Hard to Kill. I'm more sold on this than I was Hard to Kill.
Let me say this too, Kev. I'm not like scheduled to cover this show. No Surrender. I'm not.
You're watching it,
but I'm probably gonna buy it and watch it.
Yeah.
So there you go. They sold me on it because
Yeah.
there's a lot of intriguing elements in there. I think it's a setup very well. They've made me
It's a
invested
stacked
in a
card
lot of
too. We
these.
haven't even talked about the other matches they have in this. They have
Yeah.
the Good Brothers going to take on James Storm, a Chris Sabin Private Party. The Texas Tornado No DQ Knockouts Tag Team Championship match, Fire and Flavor versus Havoc and Nevada. Decay with Black Taurus versus Triple XL with Tennille Dashwood. Matt Cardona, that's right, formerly Zack Ryder, and Eddie Edwards will take on Brian Myers and Hernandez in a tag team match. X Division Championship match, TJP, the champion versus Rohat Raju, and an X Division #1 contender triple threat revolver match. That's the part that threw me off, guys. Featuring a whole bunch of different talent, including Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, Blake Christian, Willie Mack, Davari, and Suicide, Jordan Grace, and Jazz, and ODB versus Deanna Perazo, Kimberly, and Susan, and Cody Deaner versus Jake Something. That is a stacked show, top to bottom. 9 matches on the card.
Should be good. Yeah. And then you have the intrigue of what the all elite elements are going to be in that as well.
I think there will be an all elite element here. I think, and I do think that'll be the special treat of, hey, if you paid for this pay-per-view, here's the surprise we gave you. You know, there's nothing wrong with giving people a surprise on a pay-per-view because it makes them remember that when they put their money down. You know, when you're not just going through the subscription window, you give me surprises. Wrestling fans, especially in the last few years, you guys all know this. They all want surprises. So,
and let me make this point just real quick: is that there is nothing wrong right now for Impact to take a little bit of risks here and to go outside of the box. And something to that is what we were just talking about, is Tommy Dreamer winning the Impact title and then riding with it and going with it.
What's wrong with him winning it on a pay-per-view and losing it on TV?
Right.
You know, they're a company that can do a world title change on TV, and it would be good for them, and it would get more attention for them, and they could make a payoff on television like that mean something. I'd be down for that.
It's been a great week for old people. Tommy Dreamer is #1 contender.
You see that, Robert? Because what is Dom likes himself some
I
old
love
guys.
Old people. And it's a great week for Tommy Dreamer. He's #1 contender. It's his birthday. Tom fucking Brady is the Super Bowl champion, MVP, 43 years old.
Geriatrics.
It's a great week for old people. Let's go, old people, huh? Come on, everybody. Yeah.
Old.
Let me get one for the clip so I can clip it. Old guys. Yeah, I'm clipping that for Twitter.
Look, here's the thing. It's going to be a great show on Saturday night. The right move is Tommy Dreamer. I don't think they do that, but I'm here for it. So I'm going to go with my heart and say Tommy Dreamer wins the Impact World Heavyweight Championship, even if it's just for a moment.
I want him to win, but I'm worried there's shenanigans. I'm just worried there's shenanigans. And I also think Tommy is also a guy who wants to do something that's going to help people. He's such a guy who put other people ahead of himself, which gave his career such greater longevity. He's a guy who has a much stronger career outside of the ring, I would say, in terms of his influence. He has created an entire generation of talent. There was a time when he was a talent producer at WWE where he set up people that are millionaires. He set them up to be stars and was a great producer. And he's gone on the record saying, I didn't like doing it. But he was working with huge talents, getting them ready for monster runs of stuff. And never got the credit he is due for that. I think he's doing some great things in Impact as well. And I think I want him to win, but I feel shenanigans. Big thumbs up to this week's Impact. I'm going to give this show an 8 out of 10. Overall, they touched a lot of marks. The bad stuff did not outweigh the good. And I loved that promo with Tommy Dreamer. I loved the opening 8-man tag. What did you guys give it?
7.5, and I'm going to go first because I'm actually going to
7.5, dog?
I'm actually going to bow out here. I'm not going to say 7.5, dog, because that's John's bit. But this is a really good show, and I actually grew to like it as this conversation progressed. And I wonder if the people in the comments feel the same. This is a very strong show. I am so down for Tommy Dreamer winning this belt. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. I'm not going to hit you with my plugs. These two men are great, and they will play out. But I
want to hit you with your plugs. You hit me with your plugs. You got to get out of here and do something.
No, it's okay, Robert. Go ahead. Just leave.
Are you big timing us right now? Is he big timing us?
Well, folks, since they said it, first of all, you should check me out on Fightful.com.
We said plug. We said plug, but maybe.
No, you said plugs.
I know, but you're trying to get out now. Like you didn't even give you the courtesy of getting Robert. All right, here's the end of the show.
I wasn't gonna bog down before the end of your show.
Look at this, Rob. But here we go. Are you looking at this? Are you looking at this?
But here we go. Fightful.com.
Really?
The Fightful Wednesday Night War podcast. Myself, Alex Pulaski, and Sean Ross Sapp. I'm also over on smarkoutmoment.com. We're going to do the NXT preview in about a minute. There's a WCW rewritten podcast with Dominic DeAngelo and his degenerate brother Marcus. Mm-hmm. We also did a WCW rewrite, rebooking from Starrcade 97 to Starrcade 98. Amazingly fun time. Check that out on our YouTube. And check out Fanboys Anonymous, where we are currently reviewing all the James Bond films. That's it for me. Follow me on Twitter at DeFelice, and I will see you guys.
Bye, Robert. I know you got to go. I'm sorry we ran late, Robert.
You're fine. You're fine.
Go do your thing, man. Take care, bud. Dominic, you are busy with your, as you put it, degenerate brother, this WCW rewritten project. I'll say this, guys. Very rarely do I get to listen to our podcast before they get to come out. I oversee things and I hear them come out. And I got to hear the audio of this before it came out. If you love, just scratch let me see that Four Horsemen cup again.
Oh yeah.
If you scratch that feel, that old school wrestling feel, all right, throw up the 4. You want old school WCW, the Monday nights popping off. You're going to get that here. This is a great podcast for that 30-something wrestling fan, for that 20-something wrestling fan who's really rediscovering some of those things, or maybe only knows them through the network, or you just love fantasy booking. All right. I know many people that like to do that. This is the podcast for you. It's WCW rewritten. It starts off with Starrcade 97, Hogan versus Sting in the big main event. All right. And we rewrite the whole thing, try and clean up the mess of this pay-per-view, because there was messy stuff going on backstage.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And we will talk about all that. That drops tomorrow in the podcast feed on Facebook Watch. All right. And YouTube. All right. So make sure your notifications are on YouTube. So you want to like this video. You want to subscribe. Turn the bell on. So ding, 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 ding. So you know when we have a new video. All right. We also do our live streams on there, the WrestleZone wrap-ups, and so much more. We'll be live tonight after NXT and AEW. All right. And, of course, we'll have our Thursday show where we do a lot of questions and answers to wrap up the week. Dom, what do you got going on here as well?
Yeah, so obviously, WCW rewritten, check that out. So dropping tomorrow, debuting tomorrow. And then obviously Marcus and I also do the other podcast, Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitude, where it's all AEW all the time. We all recap the whole show, talk about what could happen, what did happen, where we think things might need to be fixed, where they're flourishing, all that kind of aspect. And then I just episode 3 of Meet the Wrestler should be dropping today with Moonshine Mantell. So it's like a one-on-one interview with a particular indie talent that has stood out to me. Moonshine Mantell has been somebody that's been on my notepad for quite a while, and so I was very happy to get to interview him. There's another one coming up too with John Schuyler, who's been on AEW Dynamite or Dark, excuse me, but he's got a fascinating backstory as well. So look out for episode 4 of that. In addition, I didn't give my rating for this.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. We ran over time. I knew once Robert did. I looked at the time. I was like, we try to do our shows in like 45 minutes. We're like 25 minutes over.
Well, holy shit! Right. So I thought I'm gonna give it an 8.6. I thought it was the best one that I've covered so far, and I think they set up a lot of intriguing elements for the go home. Very, very, very good go home, and hopefully they can keep this momentum riding after No Surrender. So other than that, just subscribe to WrestleZone podcast. Got so much shit happening on there. Kev is always doing a great job and staying steady and keeping things going and
trugging along, man.
Kev, you got a show coming up here. Thing happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing the whole quarantine 5-day thing when I get back from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I go up there socially distant. The limited capacity at the venue. It's the Laughing Tap. This is an independently owned venue. And I think now everyone looks at, when are we getting stimulus from the United States government? When are we going to get these things? How are we going to be able to survive? The Laughing Tap is an independently owned business. The people that want to produce comedy there own it. It's not like they rent the building. So if they don't stay open, that venue is gone. They just opened this place a year ago, and they spent years raising the money to get it open. And then the pandemic happened, as you know, right? Yeah. So look at it this way. Most of you are, I would say probably all of you listening or watching this, are not going to be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or maybe you are, but you don't feel comfortable leaving the house. Well, there will be some people there, and they will pay to watch the ticket, and they will be over 12 feet away from me in this giant venue that could house probably over 250 people. It's going to have 25 in it, right? So I'm going to feel safe in that circumstance. Big, tall ceilings. I'm going to feel safe. I performed there in October. I wouldn't go back if I didn't feel safe. But you can watch this on Friday night or maybe Saturday if No Surrender's not your thing. God bless them, right? I'm going head-to-head with them. I'm going to kick their ass.
Oh, man.
I'm going to kick their ass.
Your forbidden door doesn't swing both ways.
Boom, boo. My forbidden door is right off the corner of 5th and Pierce in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Laughing Tap. That's where my forbidden door is.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to be chugging some PBRs. All right. And I'm going to be telling jokes with one of the funniest comedians in the game, Rena Calm. This is a fun Valentine's Day thing if you want to do it Friday. Also, if you want to do it Saturday and you're still watching No Surrender, we just added a second show. All right, so we have 3 shows. We'll be running Friday night, 8 p.m. Central, Saturday night, 8 p.m. Central, and Saturday night, 10:15 p.m. Central. All shows will be streaming. You can buy your tickets at laughingtap.com. They're $10. So $10, you get to watch me do comedy live. Yes, I will do jokes about wrestling. It will be really, really cool. And if you got the girlfriend or you got maybe the double date scenario, all right, maybe you got that. This is a really cool thing to do. Maybe you want to do the Zoom party for it too. If you guys watch it, hit me up on Twitter. Shoot me a screenshot of you guys watching it, and I'll try and send you some cool stuff in the mail. All right, so hit me up on Twitter at Kev Kellam. All the links are up there as well. If you're just double checking this, and I heard on the podcast where I go. It's laughingtap.com, 8 p.m. Central Friday, 2 shows on Saturday, 8 p.m. and 10:15 p.m. And those are streaming live Central Time. Thank you guys so much for supporting it. Hopefully you guys can do that for a venue wherever you live. Dom, thank you so much for supporting the show. I'm sorry we went half an hour over.
That's fine with me, yeah.
It's like, hey, God damn it, we get to talk about wrestling, man. That's our gig, and we're so thankful you guys watch the show.
Yeah, thank
and remember,
you guys.
Oh, man. Take a little sip of that cup. Let me take a little sip of my cup. Let me just drink it in. Times are tough here. Times are tough.
Real tough.
But goddamn.
Drink for the working man.
Yeah, working man. We drink one for the working man. When we watch wrestling, tell them what we got to do.
Hey, you got to enjoy it.
I don't know why we went cowboy voice.